Cropping your images in Lightroom is so important in order to make your images look more polished, more professional, and of course, more engaging and dynamic through better composition. So that is exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to show you how the crop tool works. We're going to talk about aspect ratio, changing orientation, and so on. So you'll get a really in-depth look at the crop tool. Now, do make sure that you stay right until the end, because I'm also sharing a sneaky little bonus tip for changing the crop overlay so you can get more dynamic composition. That's really important, so make sure that you don't miss that. So without further ado, let's dive into Lightroom and learn how to use the crop tool. So here we are in Lightroom and we're in the develop module, and then over to the panel on the right hand side you'll see that you have this panel with different tools on it. That's your local adjustment tools, and we want to click this one on the far left, and that is your crop tool. And when you open that, this is where all your options for cropping in Lightroom pop up. So let's just start with the basics. So once you've selected that tool, you'll see that a grid comes over your image and you'll get these handles on the side. So if I move my mouse over the side, you'll see that that changes, and I can actually just click and bring that in to crop into my image. Now, when I move my mouse over my image, it changes to a hand, and I can use that to kind of move that grid that I've just done, or that crop, around the image to get a perfect location. Now, I can also move my mouse to the side, just off the edge a little bit there, and you'll see that that changes to that 2 arrows. That's basically so that you can kind of move that around to straighten it as well. So that's the kind of basics of cropping. Now, for straightening, we do have another tool that we could use, which is this ruler. So just where these crop tool options are, you'll see that ruler. Just click on it to pick it up, take it over your image. Now, any line in your image you can use to kind of drag this along. Now, I don't actually happen to have one here, but if I did, I would just click, hold, and then move that along the line, and then Lightroom will automatically straighten it to that line. And you can do it on a vertical line as well. So I kind of have a tree here that I could use, and it will do that for you automatically there. Now, if you want to change the orientation, so at the moment we're in landscape orientation. If I want to go to portrait, all I need to do is press X on my computer keyboard. So you see that changes the orientation, but everything works in exactly the same way. We can move that, we can pull out the corners and so on. So it works in the same way. I'm just going to press X again on my computer keyboard to go back to my landscape orientation. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the aspect ratio. So you can see that when I move this, it stays to the same aspect ratio. It doesn't matter how much I pull it in or out, it's sticking to that aspect ratio. Now, aspect ratio is the length by the height. So it's always keeping that same length by the height. It doesn't matter if I go in quite small, it still has that same ratio between the length and the height. Now, as standard, your camera is probably going to be 4:3. But you can change that aspect ratio here. So where it says aspect and then original, just click there, and then you can choose any one of these options. So for example, if I wanted a 4:5, which is a kind of classic 8:10, I could click on that, and you'll see that that changes the aspect ratio of that grid over my image. I could choose 1:1, and that's going to do the same thing. It's going to change that grid. So you can change to different aspect ratios. Now you can also choose a custom size. So again, I'm just going to click there, and you can go down to where it says enter custom. Just click on that, and then you can put in your custom aspect ratio here. Now you're not going to want to do that too often, but maybe for things like when you're preparing your photo for Instagram or Facebook, you might want to change to a custom aspect ratio. Now, we do have another video specifically on cropping and just preparing your image for Instagram. I'll link to that in the video description below. But for now, we'll keep that there. Now, what I'm going to do is just show you. So we have this lock icon here. If we click on that, that will unlock. And what that means is that I can pretty much do anything I like with regard to the size. Now, I don't recommend that you do that generally, because if you send this sort of custom, unconstrained cropped image to your printers, they're going to print into one of their predetermined aspect ratios, like 4:3 or 8:10 or whatever they happen to print to. So do check that your print company is going to be able to print properly what you're doing here in your unconstrained. So most of the time we will want to stick to one of these kind of standard sizes. I'm just going to go back to 4:3 there. And once you've finished cropping, you just need to go down here and press done at the bottom right there, or you can just press enter on your computer keyboard. And if you didn't like what you did and you want to just go back to the beginning and pretend like it never happened, just press reset. And that is you done. Now, obviously there is a lot more you are going to want to do to your image rather than just cropping. And I do have a free Lightroom video training which is about an hour long and goes into so many aspects of organizing and editing your images. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description below this video. Strongly recommend that you check it out. It's got so much great info in there. So I also promised you an extra bonus tip, so that's what I'm going to show you now. So you can actually change the overlay that you have on your image to help you get a different composition. So you can actually cycle through a number of different compositional guides, and that's going to help you by allowing you to get more dynamic and interesting images. So here's how you use that. So by standard, it's going to show you this three along, three down. That's your classic rule of thirds grid, and you can use that to compose your images to the rule of thirds. But of course there are other composition tools other than the rule of thirds, and you might want to use them. So Lightroom does give you that option. All you need to do is press O on your computer keyboard, and you'll see that that changes the crop overlay. So we have this one, which is diagonal lines. I'm just going to press O again. That is giving me the golden triangle. Then I'm getting the golden ratio as a crop overlay. And this one is the golden spiral. So I can use these crop overlays to change the composition of my image. Now this one, when I pressed O again, you can see that that shows you the different sizing, like if I had a 5:7 or a 4:5. So it's showing you how the different aspect ratios might look. And if I click again on O on my keyboard, it's just giving me the grid, and then that's me back to the rule of thirds. So you can literally just go through pressing O, and that will allow you to cycle through all of those different options. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment below letting me know how you got on with cropping in Lightroom and if there's anything that you learned new in this video. You'll also want to make sure that you hit that red subscribe button and the little notification bell, and that way you'll be notified every time we release a new video, which is going to be every single week. That's it from me. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.